Well, I finally did it. I decided to make a pottery studio in my house. That might seem crazy as a part-time... Could I even call myself a part-time ceramist? I do this part-time, even though I'm a beginner, so yeah. But welcome to my pottery studio. And I take that term very lightly because it's actually just the hallway in my house. So I know I've shared bits and pieces of this in some previous videos, but I wanted to give you a proper tour on the design and the functionality of my tiny pottery studio. And we can just start where most of the items are kept. So I've pretty much watched every single video on YouTube about pottery. And I know I kind of did the thing I always do when I start a new craft of becoming an expert in education without actually trying the thing. Yeah, I did try to limit myself in how many things I purchased and try to do research into things before I bought it, because I didn't want to buy a whole lot of things and then find out that I didn't want to use it. So as I go through this tour, I'll talk to you about the things that I recommend and the things that I hold off on purchasing and why. Because as a beginner potter, which I have no one else who is into pottery, I had no one else to really ask on the things that I should and shouldn't purchase. So I was looking to the internet for all of my advice. So consider me as your friend as you dive into this pottery world. I think it's absolutely amazing how pottery kind of connects you back to the earth, and being able to be more of a child playing with clay and then molding it into something that's beautiful. I actually took a trip out to Colorado and got to visit some of the sites of Native Americans and then their whole process of making pottery. And it hasn't really changed, using coils to make beautiful bowls and functional items. So I was really amazed how that technique is tried and true and how it still works to this day. You know, I always enjoy going back to nature and going camping and reconnecting with the earth. It always makes me feel more mentally stable or grounded, and playing with clay gives me that feeling as well. There's so much more to it with the painting, being able to take a lump of clay into something that I can eat on or drink from. I'm like, oh yeah, this is it. And I love aesthetic coffee mugs, and I'm all about coffee and really any hot drink. And I look forward to being able to say, I need this, and be able to just enjoy the vibes and the drink from something that I made with my own hands. I look forward to that. I haven't even finished glazed my first mug, and here I am with a pottery studio. But in life, there is no instruction manual. And with this craft and this hobby, I decided to just dive in. So if there's something you feel passionate about, what's holding you back from just jumping in and trying it out? And if you don't like it, you don't like it. You give it your all. And that's exactly what I did with this. But I'll stop the yapping and I will give you the tour of this cupboard that, yes, I got from IKEA. There was a point in my life where I was obsessed with mostly gray, neutral colors. And more and more I find myself introducing more earthy colors. Like I said, it's all about feeling more grounded. And a good way to introduce green is with actual greenery, right? So I have my little plant here that I absolutely love, that I'm trying to keep alive, and it probably needs to get repotted into a bigger plant. But these are some of the paintbrushes that I have barely had a chance to use. Honestly, not the best quality. But if you're reluctant to invest a lot of money in paintbrushes, I would recommend a fan brush like this one. I would recommend a flat paddle brush like this one, because that will take care of plates and whatnot. And maybe something that's a smaller version, more of a detail brush, but in this shape, so you can get some nice detail brushes. But as far as for right now, with where I am with glazing, useless, 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 useless. Maybe. This one I used, it was fine, but I had to crimp up the neck of it because it was wobbling and I was afraid it was just going to fall into the glaze. The first items that I glazed are currently in the kiln. I'm not sure how it turned out, but yeah, we'll see. And right here, I have a nice little light up house and something that I got from, I think, Guatemala or Honduras, where I was deployed. And then I have some towels here, a little light if I wanted to kind of display or create the mood when I'm doing pottery. I don't know. I have little stencils here with the letters, sponge on the stick. And this is the first cup and plate I've ever made. This is my first pottery class. This probably weighs about 5 pounds. I don't know. It's ridiculously heavy and thick base. Man. Yeah. I remember thinking I did a great job. That's why I always say document your process. And because in my head I thought I made an excellent bowl and cup for my first try, like I was a natural. Look at that. Just hitting on the handle. But document your process and then you can really see how much progress you've made over time. I've started doing some slip work on my cups, which I will show you one that I did that I really love later on. And then these are my trimming tools. These are some pinch mugs that are just drying right now. Out of 6 that I made, 2 made it. The handle kept broken off. So if anyone have any advice on how to repair clay that's already drying but the handle is breaking off, let me know. This broke. So I tried to repair it. We'll see how it goes. And these are some extra discware of some cups that, I mean, they're okay. That one's fine. This one is kind of chunky and a little unlevel, but I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll keep it or not. And then I made some test tiles. It's kind of cute. So these test towels will be used for my glaze. I'm mixing some pre-mixed liquid glaze with different colors. And then I also decided to dive into some dip glaze. So I mixed different colors of powders and they're just sitting there. So I'll test them out later on. This is my little mixer. I don't know how it works. I'll let you know. I haven't actually used it yet. Stop. Thank you. Safety first, and then ambiance again. Look at that. Oh yeah. This actually feels like real candle, but clearly it's not. This is my tray for turning. So it has everything that I need in here. You don't necessarily need these. It's up to you if you want to get it, but a ruler does the same exact job. Ribs, profile ribs, I don't know if that was worth the money or not. Because the idea of doing pottery is to have things that aren't robotic and exactly the same and be more, I don't know, handmade. That's the point of it. So yeah, I don't know if I would ever purchase ribs again. And mud tools. This sponge works really well, and I love this as well. It comes in a big pack on Amazon. A couple of bowls from IKEA with some cleanup sponges. A little spray bottle. And then I have some other containers with supplies that I'll show you once I get my hands free. I have my plaster bats for some reclaimed clay and the fallen ones. Yeah, these are the ones with the broken handles. So if you have any advice on what to do with these, let me know before they get recycled back into regular clay. That's what I think is awesome about this. There's an empty bucket for me to eventually pour up the color of glaze that I fall in love with. We'll see. And then I have a turntable and a bunch of bats here. Yeah. Let's look into the tubs. This one's actually empty, and this one is full. So these are pretty much glazing items. I have wax resist Don't shake it because it gets really bubbly. I have one thing of underglaze, it's black because I like black, but eventually I'll probably dive into some other colors. This is the wire that I plan to use for my glaze test pieces so I can hang them up once they're glazed because I plan on dipping them. These are just liquid glazes, measuring cup, some tape so I can make some patterns. I'm really trying to get into dip glazes because trying to brush on glaze, I'm just not into it. Prongs or tongs, powder glazes in different colors that I plan on mixing to get the ideal color that I want. And then some diamond sandpaper to sand the bottom of the pieces so that they're smooth to the tabletop. And then this, I just have some extra items. I feel like these wire cutters, like you can't have too many of. The one that comes in the cheap package, I feel is really cheap and kinks up really quickly. These are shorter, which makes them more usable, and I feel like they're a little bit stronger as well. Some extra mud tools that came with the kit. This carver, which is great, and then some other random sponges, and then extra tips. These are things that I just don't use that came in the kit, so I just keep it in here. Okay, how did I have this in here before? Some Tetris. Yeah. Okay. Oh. And while I really love the dark color of the cabinet, I really start to understand why everyone is going with the light colored cabinets. And that's because dust shows up so clearly on the darker color item. So, and then right here I have an apron. It's one of the Japanese aprons. I hate having to tie up aprons, so this is a slightly different design. Like this. Put it over your head. What's that? There's no need to tie anything, which is one of my pet peeves of regular aprons. And I have a little mat here. It's also green. It is the entrance to the backyard, so I like to keep inside clean. And right here is my Speedball Big Boss table. It's nice. One thing I didn't expect is it's quite textured, but it's fine. I like it. We have the back pins. The foot pedal is also textured, which I don't really care for because it makes it difficult to clean. And then this stool I got from IKEA. Regarding the wheel, I wish it was a little bit wider because it does make it difficult sometimes to kind of clean without, like you have to dismantle the whole thing to actually clean it properly. I wish it was bigger and then that way I could kind of fit my hand in to clean it, but it's okay. And the motor is a little bit loud, but overall it's very sturdy and it's not too loud, and it's powerful, so I like it. And this mirror I've had for years. I always believe in recycling the items that you have in your home, and then I just ended up spray painting it so that it matches the aesthetic of my tiny studio. This piece, I will show some clips of how I made this with plaster and paint. I have green walls in my house, and I just mixed the plaster with the paint and made a little art piece. Big old white canvas board that I purchased from Amazon. But this took forever to dry. It does have some cracked areas in here that I think just adds character to the piece. It's been there for a couple months now. I haven't had any issues. I think it looks beautiful. Right here is the other corner of the studio. And that's where I have my wedging board. It's just a piece of plywood that's covered with canvas, and I just stapled it onto the board So I use that for wedging. And then in here, again, this is dark colored, so the clay just shows up everywhere. And then here, I have my little scraper, my scale, and then some tubs where I take my bag of clay and I will pre-measure them and then put them in some baggies that's in this tub. So when it's time for me to throw, because I have kids and I have a limited amount of time to actually get work done, I try to pre-weigh, put them in the tub so that when I do have time to throw, I don't have to worry about measuring anymore. Makes the process go by a little bit faster. And then I just put some screws in here. Sorry, I'm losing light. So I can hang certain things on. So I just put in a screw here. So just some disclaimers. I don't believe that you need to have a wheel to do pottery. You can certainly do things by hand. But I did enjoy the throwing process, so I decided to invest in a wheel. I tried to go the pottery studio route of renting a space, which was very affordable. The studio I was going to, but here in San Diego, the parking was a nightmare. I ended up getting a parking ticket by parking in a spot that I thought was legal, but parking is tough, and the drive and traffic was horrible. So with getting a wheel, I also decided to purchase a kiln. So I do keep the kiln here in my garage. It is probably one of the most expensive items when it comes to pottery. You can definitely rent out a studio or rent out a kiln to have your items fired. But I decided I did not want to take that drive every time, and I figured if I didn't use it, I would be able to sell it. I looked on Facebook Marketplace and realized that kilns were selling, but I wanted to buy my new just for warranty purposes. So I did have to have an electrician come out to give me a breaker to make sure that this could run on there. Sometimes you can get a 120 volt kiln without needing to have an electrician come out, but because of the size of this kiln, which does allow me to grow into it, even as a hobby potter, if you decide to open up a shop, this would work just fine as well, unless if you start to go big commercial, then you'll need something bigger. But I decided to go with the Scott H18 with the touchscreen. I actually just finished my first firing, so yay, glaze firing. So it's right to the point where I can open it up, so stay tuned for that video. But when I do fire, I don't have exhaust system, but I do open up the main garage door and also this door as well, so get some good cross breeze, as well as I have 2 box fans if it's on a super hot day. But luckily here in San Diego during the evenings it's been quite cool, so I would wake up early in the morning, I fired, it was nice and cold, and then during the day where it gets a little bit warm, it's safe enough I can have the doors open. But at night it starts to get really cold again, and I don't have to worry about the heat so much, because in addition to safety with the walls, I do have these fire sprinklers that will go off and when they sense temperature that's too hot. So I have to be very careful with that, because I don't want sprinklers going off. But yeah, but that's it. So all I can say, my advice to So my advice to somebody who wants to get started into pottery is figure out how much you want to spend. That's your biggest factor. And realize that there are different types of pottery. You can hand build items or you can use a wheel, and see which one brings you more joy. Now that I know what I know, if budget was an issue, I would have started off with one of the $200 wheels that are available on Amazon. I think while they're not very strong, or not a lot of power behind them, I think it will get you going and learning the skills of how to throw items on a wheel. You can also look at a local studio, but because I'm a mother of two and I have a very time-consuming job, the time to commute back and forth from a pottery studio would have drained me more than the recharge that I would have gotten from throwing. And so that's kind of the thing. Time is not really on my side, and so I decided to eliminate the commute and parking issues, and then just have the items here available to me. But you can definitely do handcrafting, buy a cheaper wheel, and then start with a basic kit, and then realize that some of the tools you'll like, some of them you won't like. But that way you get to test things out and either just work with it until you have more of a budget to invest into something more. But those will be your biggest investments, and you can choose not to get it or not, and that's the wheel and the kiln. But I've seen a lot of people on YouTube be able to open up successful shops with just doing hand-built, pottery, and not have a kiln or a wheel. So it just depends on what is it that you want to do, what is the purpose behind doing pottery. But as a hobby potter, I'm still happy with my investments, but it's not necessary by any means. Thank you so much. If you have any questions about anything that you saw today, let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.